All right, so let's picture the scene. It's the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur. Now, normally, these things are all about quiet, behind-the-scenes handshakes and carefully worded statements. But this time, the entire script got thrown out the window. We're going to break down exactly what happens when international diplomacy gets a full-on reality show makeover. Just let that sink in for a second. A personal episode of The Apprentice. That's not just some clever line from an analysis of the October 26, 2025 event. It absolutely nails the vibe of what happened. This wasn't just your standard diplomacy, it was basically a primetime special, and the whole world had a front row seat. So that's the central question we're digging into, right? What does happen when the summit basically becomes a reality show? This one event serves as this incredible case study for a massive shift in how global politics is being played. And we have to ask, is this a good thing or a really, really bad one?
Okay, let's kick things off with Act 1, the deals. To really get what went down, you have to understand the philosophy behind this whole new style of foreign policy. And spoiler alert, it is all about the transaction.
This right here is the core concept, transactional realism. So, just forget about long-term alliances, forget about established rules. In this playbook, all that stuff is just getting in the way. The only thing that really matters is the immediate, tangible win you can hold in your hand. It's kind of like a "what have you done for me lately" approach to the entire world. And you can just see the two worlds crashing into each other on this slide. On one side, you've got the traditional ASEAN way, all about building consensus, quiet conversations, taking your time. And on the other side, you have a style that's much more like a hostile corporate takeover. It's a pretty fundamental clash of philosophies. And here is where it gets really, really real. There was this deadly border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia that had been dragging on since July. Then, all of a sudden, it's resolved. So what was the secret? It wasn't months of careful, patient diplomacy. Nope. It was a simple, powerful threat. Sign a deal right now, or get ready for some crippling tariffs. Okay, moving on to Act 2, and you'll see how this all builds. The dances. This is where the performance itself, the spectacle of it all, becomes a strategic tool to actually get those deals across the finish line. Now, this is where things get super interesting. We're not just talking about a few nice photo ops here. This is something called performative diplomacy, where the spectacle itself is basically a weapon. Think of it like professional wrestling. Everybody kind of knows it's a performance, but the narrative, the drama, that creates very real-world consequences and pressures people to act. And the tools for this are all about controlling who gets to tell the story. Let's go back to that Thailand-Cambodia ceasefire. The U.S. president's attendance was apparently conditional. And those Chinese mediators, who, by the way, did a ton of the heavy lifting to make the deal happen, they were completely shut out of the final signing ceremony. It's all about who gets the credit when the cameras are rolling. Just look at how this single day was engineered. It is a total masterclass in something called agenda bundling. You've got a peace deal, major trade announcements, and a big institutional moment for ASEAN all crammed into just a few hours. And the result? You create this narrative of constant, overwhelming success that is absolutely impossible for the media to ignore. But all this intense focus on the deals and the dances, it has real consequences. What happens to the institution itself when the star of the show isn't really interested in attending the slow, kind of unglamorous, but absolutely essential regular meetings? Whoa, this chart tells a really powerful story. When you ask folks in Southeast Asia about economic influence, it's not even a contest. The U.S. is a crucial security player, for sure, but this data really suggests that a focus on one-off deals and tariff threats is costing it big time in the long run, especially when you compare it to China's steady, consistent economic presence. And this table, this is what analysts call the empty chair. And it's not about just missing one meeting, it's a clear pattern of sending lower and lower level officials to these key summits. And what that does is send a signal that the hard, patient work of building institutions just isn't a priority anymore. And nature abhors a vacuum, right? Well, so does diplomacy. Leaders in the region have pointed out that when the U.S. doesn't show up, it makes it way harder to form a collective response to big challenges. And that allows other powers, like China, to step in and fill that void with their own consistent engagement, their economic projects like the Belt and Road, and of course their military expansion. So, what does all this mean for the future of how countries talk to each other? Is this super personalized transactional model a sustainable playbook for the future? Or is it just a temporary chaotic disruption to the world order?
So here's the fundamental trade-off, laid out plain and simple. Do you want the quick hit? The flashy win that looks amazing on the evening news? Or do you want the slow, steady, and frankly, sometimes boring work of building lasting relationships and trust? This new approach is betting everything on the former, but it is one heck of a risky gamble.
So if you're an organization like ASEAN, what's your move here? Do you try to lean into the spectacle and use it for your own advantage? Do you double down on the old ways and just hope this whole storm passes? Or do you try to create some kind of hybrid model, something that can actually survive in this new wild world? There are absolutely no easy answers.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. The summit in Kuala Lumpur wasn't just some one-off crazy event. It was a preview of a potential future for international relations. And it's a future that forces all of us to ask what we really want our diplomacy to look like. Is it about patient, quiet consensus building, or is it all about a primetime performance?